In this tutorial, I'll show you how you can store images into Google Cloud using Spring Boot and Angular for the front end. This application has a database. We are going to be using PostgreSQL database. As you can see, the two images that I've already saved are there. And also, if you go to my bucket here, I can refresh it. You'll see that the two images have been stored in there. There we go. The Google Cloud platform logo and the logo for Spring Boot. Now, I will take you, let me show you in the database. This is the URL which has been encrypted, and I'll show you how that works. Our entity has only 3 columns: the ID, name, and image URL. If I take you now to our Spring Boot application and I show you the entity to start with, which has got the name, the ID, the name, and the URL, and without wasting time, I'll show you the main logic of this application. It's very simple. Sorry, not that one. It's very simple, as you can see. That's all there is, right? So let's go through this. To start with, you need to have the name of your bucket. So the name of my bucket is stored in this variable here, and this annotation gets this variable from the application properties class, which is defined there. That's my bucket name as you saw it in Google Cloud. Now, if we come back here and I show you how all this works, how I've developed this application is that you can store more than one file. Okay, this object here provided by Google has all the methods we need to interact with Google Cloud services. The methods for uploading, downloading, signing the URL before saving it to the database. You'll see all that. I've seen many tutorials, but I haven't seen any tutorial that is showing you how to store the URL in the database and the images in Google Cloud. I've seen people saving images in the folder, and in the real world, for example, if you develop an e-commerce system, you do not store, no one will allow you to store images in a folder in their server. All you can do is store the URL in the database and store your images somewhere else. That's why we have Google Cloud, and we also have AWS facilities to store images. Anyway, I will go through this quickly. When you upload your files, we take the file name and we use that name to check for these 3 conditions. We also make sure that the name has got an extension, because we are going to use that extension to make sure that we are only allowing images. As I said, this application is only saving images, but you can come here to this array and you can change and include other extensions, PDF, Word documents, and all that. The array is defined here. You can come here and change and include any extensions. So when you have your extension, you check whether it's one of the allowed extensions here. And if it is, you take that file name, you pass it to this method here, and this method is going now to extract the name and leave the extension behind, because in the database we do not want to store file names with their extensions. It makes no sense. You could do that, but I thought let's extract the extension, and this method is defined in this file here, right? What it does, it uses this very simple method here, which takes anything before the dot all the way going to the left to the very first character, and that is the image name. Now with that name, which now doesn't have an extension, we check whether it's already existing in the database, and we call this method, which has a string which has a string variable. We pass this name and check whether it is already in the database, and this is the method there. Okay, we pass the name there, and then our repository, using JPA capabilities, we are able to check. We pass this JPA method, and we can check whether the name is already in the database. All right, let's go on. Now here, what is happening, we are reading the uploaded files in chunks of 8 kilobytes. We buffer them in chunks of 8 kilobytes, and then we write them to the blob. And now here we write them to the bucket. Now here, what's happening here is, again, we are calling this object, and this object is calling, or we are using this object which is calling that method. What this method does, it assigns the image URL. As you can see, it's using the blob. Now you know our blob has the bucket name and the file name. It's using the file name and the bucket name, and it's encrypting the URL using this method. Okay, as you have seen in the database how the URL looks like. You can see it has the bucket name, online system, right, and it is encrypted. Okay, and to do all this, you need to have credentials stored on your computer so that you can be able to communicate with Google Cloud Platform. And that's another story by itself. We are not going to dwell into that because it's out of the scope of this application, but it's very straightforward. You create a service on a Google Cloud, and then you attach your bucket, and then you download your credentials, which you install on your PC to be able to communicate directly and save images or files to Google Bucket. Now we have checked whether the entity exists. If it is existing, all you do is you just overwrite it. If it doesn't exist, you write it now for the first time, and you also save other metadata into the database. That's that for the logic for saving the file. And what you do here, if the extension is not valid, remember we check the if someone is uploading a PDF, for example, for this application, it won't be allowed, and the user will get this message showing them the extensions that are allowed. This class here will be used to send a message to the front end, our Angular front end, so that the Angular front end can display this message to the user. And this class is here. We can show you this variable here, message. We are using it, and we are passing this, whatever message you want to show the user, you pass it to that as a parameter, or to that class. Now if things go wrong, so far we have come that far, everything else is okay, we have extracted the extension, all has gone well, or all have gone very well. Now if things go wrong for some reason that we couldn't be able to cater for, you throw that error. And here, if everything has gone very well, you display this message to the user again. You can see we're using the message response class. Okay, that is that. Now we have this method, which I'll show you how this works in the controller for for updating a file or an image, and for deleting. Now if we go to our controller here, I'll show you how the HTTP requests are being forwarded here by request mapping. They are forwarded to these handlers here. This save file handler has this above this method, which is calling our service, and using our service instance to call this message to save the file. We have another handler here which is for updating, and all that we can update, remember, is the image name or the file name. I don't remember whether I showed you this. That's we are using this update image DTO, which only has the name. We don't want to send the whole entity, or to update the whole entity. The other thing here, you can see we can also be able to delete. Now, how does this work? I'll show you quickly how we are able to make this backend, Spring backend application communicate with our front end. And it's very simple. All you need to do is to allow for cross-origin resource sharing. Okay, so we use variable here. This variable has the URL that is being sent by our front end, and which is, that variable is here. Okay, and this URL is what is going to be sent by our front end. And because we have allowed for this, the cross-origin resource sharing has been catered for, we can now get all the HTTP requests from our front end. That is for saving, for uploading or the files, for getting a single file, for updating the file, and for deleting. And that is that for our Spring Boot application. I hope you like it. I hope I showed you how it works. We can save one image here. Let's see, who do we have there? We can go and save that one. Okay, there we go, it's there. And if you go here to our bucket now and refresh it, you'll see that the app has already been saved. Here it is. And if you go to our database and refresh, select everything, you can see we have all the images 1, 2, 3 as they appear here. That is it. I hope you like this tutorial. Please like it and leave me a comment. I'm going to put this code on GitHub so that you can download and play with it and learn, and I hope it's going to be helpful to you. Please subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.